Hey everybody, it's Chad with Nobody Else's Auto. It's 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, Sunday evening, time for Sunday Night Live Chat. We've already got Frank from New York and Bill on YouTube. Looks like we just connected on Facebook as well. So, as always, live on two formats, both Facebook and YouTube. So, I do bounce back and forth as I'm watching the comments on both monitors. So, as we go through the chat tonight, you may not see all the comments if it's on one format or the other. Same with auctions. Just because you may not see a bid pop up on your screen, that means I'm taking it off of the other screen as well. Lee's here with us. Jim's here. Let's see. All right. Looks like we are on Facebook, I think. I think so. So we've got a few people starting to join us over there as well. So hopefully it's working. Rusty Nails is here with us tonight. Time for an Easter edition of Sunday Night Shenanigans. So, anyway, been kind of crazy. Looks like we've got a few on Facebook. I'm not seeing any comments on Facebook. My screen looks kind of weird on Facebook as of right now. So, I don't know what's going on. There we go. I got comments in a different section now on Facebook. So, Dawn's on with us from Nashville. Norma made it tonight. Gasser's on with us. Twice in one day. That's right. Pete's on with us. So, okay, let me get kind of keep an eye on this Facebook thing since my screen's wonky. I don't want to miss anybody over there as well. So, Brandon, nice what Bill says. Hit the like button. Great. Appreciate that, Bill. You've always got me on that. But anyway, looks like everything is connecting, I think. So, we'll see what happens. As always, if you're on Facebook and it doesn't work, you can always jump on over to the Nobody Show channel on YouTube. The feed is typically better over there. So, Guy the Car Guy's on from Oklahoma City. Glad you made it. So, anyway, still trying to figure this Facebook thing out. So, bear with me. I don't want to miss any of those guys either. But been kind of a crazy weekend. I'm sure a lot of you were aware, either from my channel or from Dalton's, that Pole Barn Garage was out here this weekend. Dalton came out, picked up his next project. So shot some footage with those guys, hung out with them. He got here yesterday about noon, and they were here till about 10 or 11 this morning. So we spent some time with those guys, had a lot of fun. They loaded up the next project of the rolled Roadrunner that Dalton's going to be putting back together. If you haven't seen it, be sure to check out Pole Barn Garage and check out the Holy Goat, the 70 GTO that was used for target practice for decades. That's just shot into oblivion that he put back on the road. Got to do the same thing with the rolled runner. So it's going to be a cool build. And I don't know if Dalton's got an affinity for saving these old muscle cars that are almost too far gone to get them back on the road, or they're just not quite right. And he kind of said he probably just ain't quite right. But hey, sometimes that's what it takes to mess with these old cars and stuff. So Brian's on, Dan's here, Glenn, Buzz is on with us, Roadkill Customs. Buzz helping Dalton out, getting this all put together, working with both me and Dalton on this deal. So glad Buzz is on with us tonight. And definitely want to check out Roadkill Customs. The more you look at that website, the more information is on there as far as chassis swaps, motor transmission combos, wheel bolt patterns. So much information on the that Buzz has on that website. You've got to check it out. So Lori's on with us. Let's see. Facebook, I'm showing some people on. I'm not showing any comments. And like I said, it's acting pretty wonky. So if we continue to have problems with Facebook, please jump on over to YouTube. Seems like everything's ticking along there tonight. But anyway, we got the Roadrunner loaded. I got some footage of it. Spent some time with Dalton. I'll be putting a video out. Dalton got a lot better footage of loading the car and stuff because he was down on the ground. So I did get the loader back last week. I've got it back out there. So we used the loader to load it. And so he was shooting a bunch of stuff as we were moving around with the loader, so that ought to be some great footage as well. Joe's on Facebook, so something's ticking along over there. I'm just not quite sure how well it's working, so we'll see what happens. But like I said, made for a busy weekend. But like I said, it's always fun working with these other guys that do similar type stuff. And huge shout out to Buzz and Roadkill Customs for helping out and helping put everything together. They brought a drone out, shot a bunch of drone footage today, so there ought to be some cool stuff on Pole Barn Garage. The drone footage they got today, so had a good time. Sebastian's on with us, and they did make it back with him with the car. Dalton texted me a little while ago. They made it back, no problems. So it good time. And then obviously a lot of you were on with me this afternoon. Like I've been promised you, live yard walk around. Finally got one squeezed in today. The weather was pretty decent. We had a little breeze, but not bad. Nice, clear, sunny day. So we went ahead and got that in today. James from Fort Wayne's on Facebook, as well as another James on YouTube. So Buzz caught most of the walk around today. Great. Jim, is that a Chief Pontiac over your head? No, actually, it's not a Chief Pontiac. So let's get that down and check it out, actually, while we're talking about it. Richard from Lincoln, Nebraska is on. I actually got a haircut last week. And then actually about got another haircut tonight because after the yard walk, I had to be at Mom and Dad's for dinner tonight, for Easter dinner, and then get back here. Well, Dad was grilling steaks, and he's like, yeah, you got a fire going. It's getting a little too out of hand. Splash a little water on it. So I splashed a little water on it, and they kind of went, woof. So I think I shortened it up a little bit more here a couple hours ago. So Jason's on. So we meet again. Yep, Jason was with us earlier today. Alex on Facebook from New Hampshire. So hopefully Facebook is ticking along and somewhat hanging in there. So I just got to get used to their new format, the way they got things laid out here. So anyway, Brian drove his motor coach today, so we'll check out the yard walk tomorrow. That's fine. That's perfect. It was a good time. We had a ton of people on. We had a great crowd on the walkthrough today, and it was a good time. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. We had a good crowd. We had good participation. So that's what makes them fun. We get a lot of guys asking a lot of different questions about different things. So, but anyway, the Pontiac or the Indian above my head. Let's get this down and check it out. Jason wants roadkill stickers. Buzz, how do we get some roadkill stickers out to some of these guys? So we showed it today on the Fury 3. We got the Sport Fury. We've got them coming up on the Sport Fury video as well. So they seem to be pretty popular. James says it was a good walkthrough. Great. Glad you guys enjoyed it. But this piece right here, this was a mystery for decades. Kenny's on. Glad you made it. This is cast aluminum. Two-sided. A little dusty. It's been sitting around. It has flat mounting pad tabs on the bottom with screw holes. Obviously, does not designed to sit flat, as you can see. Pretty good sized piece. Nope, it's not Chief Pontiac, actually, believe it or not. This thing, Alec digs it. It is a little over 21 inches long. And it's a little over 8.5 clear to the bottom of the base. So it's a pretty epic piece. It's actually got a pretty decent amount of detail in it. A couple of guesses on Indian motorcycles. Nope, not Indian motorcycles. It is a fairly thin piece. Just a thin piece of cast aluminum. But like I said, you can even see the details around the eyes on this thing. It's just really a really neat piece. We got this, I mean, I was a kid. I bet 35 years ago, 40 years ago. Lee says, make good auction piece. Now, I've had this thing way too long. We got this in a box of hood ornaments that we bought out of a salvage yard. Late 80s, 35, I'm gonna say, let's call it 35 years ago. Bought this big box of hood ornaments out of salvage yard. This was in there. And for years, I was puzzled by what it was. We never could figure it out. Obviously, Indian Motorcycle was one of the first guesses that we always thought that it probably was. But for years, never did know. Finally, a few years ago, I did actually find it. Dan says weather vane. No, it's not a weather vane. And no, Lee, it's not going to make a good auction piece for tonight. I've had it way too long. But I mean, obviously, it could very easily be Pontiac. It could very easily be Indian Motorcycle. I mean, even the way this, the headdress comes back definitely reminds you of Indian Motorcycle. But what Alex says Jeep Cherokee. No, it's not Cherokee either. This actually, believe it or not, like I said, we found in a box of hood ornaments. This is a top ornament. It's off of an old pull-behind camper. I don't know much about them. I've tried to research them for years. Finally, and I don't even remember what the name of the company was, but finally a few years ago, I did actually see it. There was a few print ads out there. I've seen one or two of them pop up on the internet over the last 20 years, but very, very, very spotty on information on this piece. So it's, kind of tricky to get much detail. I don't know if it was a short-lived camper company or just a short-lived model, or maybe they just used them for a little bit, but that's what it's off of. It's off an old pull-behind camper, like 50s, maybe early 60s, and it literally sat right. That's why it's shaped like this. It sat on the front edge of those old campers as they curved in the front. This sat right in the middle like a hood ornament, but it was a top ornament off of an old camper. Like I said, I don't remember the company. It's been a few years ago since I stumbled onto that and I actually realized what it was because I didn't know. Sebastian says we should start making some new ones. So, but anyway, that's what it was. It's off of an old pull-behind camper. Cassiano's on with us on Facebook. But that's what it is. Like I said, you can see where it just had a couple screws in each one, mounted on the curvature of the front part of the camper. And that was literally the top ornament for the old camper. So that's what it is. Like I said, it's almost 2 feet long. Jay says can't be many of those around. And that's why it took years and years to try to figure out what it was. I think one of them popped up maybe on Porcelain Sign Trader or something years and years ago. Something on Facebook. I think somebody threw one up there and somebody identified it. But like I said, I had it for, I bet we had it for 30 years before we figured out what it was. So Jeff from Canada's on. But it is a cool piece with a ton of great detail. And like I said, I don't know if the camper company just wasn't around very long or it was a certain model of camper. But obviously, not a ton of these left out there. So that's the scoop. Yeah, the car guy agrees with the hood ornament comment. But like I said, this thing's pretty big. It was like, we're talking 8.5 inches from here to here. That's pretty big. Nope, Sherman County District number 2 is not the answer, number 1. So it's actually aluminum. It is cast aluminum is what it's made out of. So cool piece. Like I said, both sides pretty detailed. Just a little dusty from sitting up on the shelf. But, I mean, you can see the lines in the cheek, the lines around the eyes. Very detailed piece for sure. Number 1 says looks more like a hood ornament for a train. Jim, they built Apache campers in Lapeer in the 60s. That might be what it was. I'm not sure. I don't remember. So Rusty James is on. William says, put it on a big rig. You could put it on a big rig. Yep, it's big enough for that. So anyway, there it is. I thought it was a cool piece to throw up top. I was looking around for something a little bit different for tonight. Everybody loved the bus last week, so I thought that would be a pretty neat piece and a good conversation piece for this evening. And obviously it was. Everybody thought it was super cool. So. But anyway, what else happened this week? I said, did get the loader moved, just ordered a reman starter for it. I quit fighting the old starter, ordered a reman starter, got it out there. Did some video. We'll get some video up of that. Only went and picked up one car this week. That was kind of crazy. Shockingly to no one, I bought a whole bunch more parts. That buddy of mine that I threw the video up here a couple weeks ago, went out to his place and he thought about some more stuff and decided there was some other stuff he needed to go. So we worked out a deal on a bunch of other stuff that he's got as well. Plus, he actually had some signs too. Most of his signs he won't sell, but he had a couple of them that he was kind of on the fence about. So, like I said, most of his signs are pretty much off limits, but he had a couple that were kind of on the fence. So, which, as I'm sure this is a shock to no one on here, I own both of them now. So, big job's on. Happy Easter, everybody. Was watching the yard tour and lost internet. Jim, I'll try to research it. Duracon bought them in the 90s. Okay. Renegade's Garage is on. But yeah, that might be it. That does sound right, Jim. Apache campers. But like I said, I kind of threw it up there last minute and didn't really take any time to do any more digging on it. But that's what it's for. So, but anyhow, what else is happening? Anybody else got anything interesting going on this week? I know my week's been bananas. Lots of stuff getting ready to go on. The Arc City Swap Meet is next weekend, and I don't know if I'm going to make it this year. I need to give them a shout, check in with Kenny, and see what they got going. Things have been kind of crazy, obviously, especially with buying all this inventory that I've got to get hauled in. So I'm definitely not out of things to do by any means. Plus having the loader back and trying to get some stuff caught up around the yard. So, but that is coming up. The Arc City Swap Meet, I believe, is next weekend. So please keep that in mind as well. Support those guys. They're getting a pretty good little swap meet built up over the last few years. So it might be worth checking out if you're in the area. So anyway, looks like we're still on Facebook. I think it's giving me all kinds of error messages, but Roadkill Customs agrees with Apache. So let's see. Trying to keep up with the comments here. Oh, that's right. I've been slipping. We're 17 minutes in, and I've been slipping. Brian just reminded me. Barry from Brunswick, Georgia's on Facebook. There's some Hudson badge. Sebastian, I found a set of books from the Packard family's personal library. That'd be pretty cool. Bill says, hit the like button. Appreciate that. Number 1, Ice Cold Old Milwaukee and Easter Bunny Ears. Hey, if that works for you, number 1, go with it. Hey, who am I to judge? Easter Bunny Ears and Old Milwaukee. Sounds like a heck of a plan. Bill says Carlisle is coming up Wednesday through Saturday. So if you're back east, that's coming up. Colorado Memorial finishing on with us tonight. Badge. Joe says badge. Everyone wants the badge. I know I got to get you guys caught up, don't I? I've been slipping. We caught a few Hudsons in the yard today, though, so. So anyway, what's coming up tonight? Obviously, we're going to catch a couple badges. We're going to auction some stuff off. And then we're going to get into the magazine that Brian sent us the other day, and it's a little bit different. If you guys were on with us on Toy Tuesday, Tom McCahill's Car Owner Guide. This is a look back into the business in 1965. So it's going to be kind of different. So we'll see. We'll see if it goes longer or shorter. We may be short tonight because it depends on how many, how we get into that magazine. But it's going to be a little bit different format. But that's going to be good. Like I said, it's still car-related stuff. It's a look inside the business in 1965, so that's going to be a little bit different. We're definitely going to do some trivia. We're going to talk about the raffle. We're going to talk about new inventory, as well as next week's video. Sebastian didn't know he had some Hudsons. Yep, there's some Hudsons out there. Some Hudson badge right here happening too. So let's get into the badges for this week, and then we will get into some auction pieces. Going to auction off a badge. We're going to auction off some oil cans. So I know you guys are waiting on that too. Anyway, let's get started on the badges. 2 Hudson Soup Jets. Yep, that's right. We did have some Hudson Jets out there, as well as some other Hudsons. Had a Wasp, had a Hornet. So now, this is the last one from the Wichita Swap Meet. So on to badges. If you remember, I bought a whole bunch. Well, not a whole bunch compared to I've got a whole bunch of badges. I'm buying another 5 for the collection. Doesn't say much compared to the hundreds we've got, but I did get another batch of badges bought at the Wichita Swap Meet. Some really, really great badges. If you remember, over the last month, basically, we've got 4 of them. We've been checking these out. First one, we did the Chandler. Some of these cars that never even heard of before. Cool little Chandler badge. We did a Jewett, a neat Jewett, something that's very uncommon. One of those little manufacturers that, never really made it. We did a beautiful Hudson Super 6. As we look at the ornamentation and the design on this badge, just a stunning, stunning piece. We looked at an original Stutz, an original badge off of a Stutz motor car. So obviously these are all pretty good. Sebastian loves rare and uncommon brands. Old School's here. Happy Easter to Old School. So I consider that a pretty nice assortment of badges. Alex in with us. I like those. So obviously, if I'm more excited about tonight's badge compared to these, pretty good badge. Although it's not from a super rare manufacturer, it's a common manufacturer. They made cars for several decades. They didn't last forever, but they did last quite a while, up into the 60s. And this is a pretty amazing badge. It and even my new favorite website, American Auto Emblems. You've got to check out American Auto Emblems. That and Roadkill Customs, the 2 most impressive websites I've seen in a long, long time. 1, the badge site, because I love it. 2, Roadkill Customs, because the more you look at Buzz's site, the more information you find on there. John's on with us on Facebook. So this badge here, I showed you the back of it, almost as big as my hand. The American Auto Emblem website calls this badge scarce. They got a lot of badges on there, and they call this badge scarce, is how they put it. And here it is, the 1931 DeSoto 6 headlight bar badge. To me, this thing is epic. I thought this thing is just amazing. It really stood out. The size is huge. This thing is over 4 inches tall. William, looking to trade a 99 Ranger that runs and drives no title for a 74 4-door Nova. If anybody's got a 74 4-door Nova intact. Brandon says beautiful. Pete says awesome. Roadkill says that's a beauty. Jason and number 1 are already bidden, but it is not for sale. Gasser 61 digs it. Guy the car guy, they don't make them like that anymore. Sebastian, that is one of the finest DeSoto badges, and I agree. Alex says that's sweet. It's an epic piece. It really is. Little over 4 inches tall. It is 3 inches side to side. So this thing is over 4 here, 3 here. This thing is huge for a badge. Typically we just have this top part here, but this thing is epic. Old School says they don't make them like people like that anymore. It's a pretty amazing badge. It really is. It is stud mounted on the back. It also had, this thing's so big it had guide pins. A badge with guide pins. It was that big. Chopper 1 made it tonight. Big Job likes it. He loves the colors. This do have great colors with the gold and the blue. This was available in 2 different ways. This obviously is the 6-cylinder. They also had this badge available on the 8-cylinder cars, which obviously was the same badge. It just said 8. But just crazy, crazy amount of detail and design in this thing. John says, excellent. Yep, for sure. Guy with the car guy says, congrats on the find. Sebastian says he's got to get one. Yeah, this thing just stunned me when we found it. My daughter and I both were like, we probably better own that in some way, shape, or form. Even if we didn't buy the other badges, we were going to own this. There was no doubt about it. The detail in these wings, I mean, it's like a full wing. It comes up in the center, then comes out all the way around. obviously more of a standard type DeSoto badge for that era. The 6 added to it, and I don't even know what these little side pieces here were for. But, I mean, really just a stunning piece. And that's really the only way I can describe it, is it really is an amazing, amazing badge. Sebastian, it's an automotive angle. Yeah, it's cool. It is a fairly flat badge. It's got a little bit of curvature to it. But like I said, they said it mounted like on the headlight bar. So never seen it. Never seen anything like it till we saw this one. Number one that looks more like Roaring 20s Art Deco than Depression era 30s. Well, it was 31. So, realistically, it was probably being designed before the market crashed in 29, Dan says that's a real fine chopper. One says Happy Easter to everybody. But, there again, they didn't, everything's a couple years out. So this was probably designed in the Roaring 20s with the Art Deco design in mind, and was probably already pretty much done, approved, and ready to be built for the 1931 models at that point. So that's a good point, number one, but that's probably why it was only used in 1931. You imagine what it cost to make these compared to just a regular small badge. Sebastian, what how many of those cars are left? Yeah. Bob, why is there $1.25 hanging on your wall? I don't know. William, love to have the car that's behind it. Yeah, no kidding. So it's a pretty epic piece. But that very easily could have been why they were only used in 31. It was probably, this one piece was probably at the time a couple of dollars to produce. And you multiply that times across the whole line versus, $1 or whatever for just the badge or whatever this stuff cost back in the day. It didn't make economic sense as soon as the Depression hit. Demas, I don't believe I've ever seen one before. I don't think I'd ever seen one until I saw this one. Norma says that's an awesome badge. Yeah, it's pretty. It's like I said, I know I've been kind of pumping you guys up for this thing. The entire time as we were working through this whole bag of goodies, I kept telling you I had a good one for the end, and I hope you guys agree with me. I hope I didn't disappoint disappoint anybody with this, because it is such to me, I thought it was an amazing piece. So I know I've been hyping it up pretty good. I know I've been making a pretty big deal out of you guys. You can't wait to see the last one out of the bag. There she is. So guy with the car guy says not one bit. So I hope it means he wasn't disappointed at all. So old school, only well-off people back then could afford a new car. Poor people still had beat up cars. That's true. Buzz says it was worth the hype. How heavy is it? I don't know. It's not extremely heavy. I didn't weigh it. But it's obviously got a little bit of weight to it, several ounces, but it's not, I doubt it's a whole pound. Jim, now buy a headlight bar to mount it. So William says top shelf stuff. Yeah, I think so. So like I said, I knew I blew it up pretty good. I know I had you guys pretty worked up about it. Now you know why. Jeff says agreed. It's beautiful. And, and like I said, lots of comments have never seen one before. I don't think I've ever seen one before, even out of that collection that out of Missouri where we bought all those badges. I don't recall seeing one of these in there either. Old school, a lot less money in circulation back then. Absolutely, that's for sure. So it's a cool piece. I'm glad you guys dig it. I'm glad you weren't disappointed saying, well, that wasn't that exciting compared to the other stuff. But like I said, when my daughter and I saw this one, like I said, even if we didn't buy anything else at the Wichita Swap Meet, we were going to own this. It was too good. It was too rare. It was too neat. Big job. Weighs comparable to a Prius. Yeah, probably so. At least, probably as much as the whole Prius nose weighs about. So Gasters would make an awesome belt buckle. It's really too big. I mean, with it being over 4 inches tall, I mean, it's almost too big. So, but, I hope you guys dig it. I appreciate the comments. No, I didn't trade her for it. We decided that, but her and I discussed it, and we decided we were going to own this one. even if we couldn't get together on the rest of the badges, we were going to buy this one for sure. Brian, I'm surprised the seller sold it. It was actually a dealer who he's been at the Wichita swap meet probably longer than I have. You know, see him every year, see him at a lot of swap meets. He deals in memorabilia type stuff like this. So for him, it was inventory. You know, he came across this stuff and it was inventory to him. So that's what he does. That's what he does for a living. He knew what he had. Trust me. Don't get me wrong. He knew what he had, but it was worth it. Alec wants one. He likes the colors. Old School says, I need to convince my daughter to sell it a turtle wax bottle. I doubt that's going to happen. Jason says, I have too much Dunlap for a belt buckle like that. Brandon says, have her put it on a plaque. Yeah, she might do this one on a plaque. So William says, cool badge for the front of a Harley. Number one's a little thirsty. We can do that. Not a problem. But there she is in all her glory. The DeSoto 1931 headlight bar badge for the 31 DeSoto 6. So glad you guys liked it. Glad you guys weren't disappointed after showing you these other ones, because these other ones I was pretty stoked about. I mean, these were nice pieces as well. I like them. I'm glad you enjoyed them. You know, this was a great collection that we bought. You know, obviously the Chandler 6, the Jewett. Billy's on with us on Facebook as well. Hopefully Facebook keeps hanging in there. The highly detailed Hudson Super 6 and the Stutz 8. Jim says even the opening in the badge. Yeah, exactly. It does have the small opening right there in the middle. You know, they didn't even make it solid. We can see the Sinclair through it. We can peek back at the Sinclair. Put the dyno in it. There's the dyno. So, Dan, yes, I'd have paid up for it too. Yeah, that's for sure. So, anyway, that wraps up the badges that I bought at the Wichita swap meet. Number one says fancier with the hole. Yep. So, but don't worry, we've got lots more badges to go. We got lots more badges to go. Trust me. But super excited about adding this assortment to the collection from the Wichita swap meet, and absolutely thrilled about that. So I'll try to keep throwing this up there. Pete says it's the original flow tie. Yeah, that's actually not too far off. That's a good way to put it, Pete. So let's jump forward a few decades. Let's catch another emblem tonight. We need to get some hood ornaments out too. I got to start getting some hood ornaments dug out. We're going to do another emblem tonight, but we got to do some hood ornaments. Like I said, we're going to jump up a few decades to a piece that, to me, I love. I've got one of these cars, so obviously I'm excited about it. It's something I've had. Frank, still looking for a Jeep delivery badge. Nothing there. Jeff, did you buy any models? Nope, didn't buy any models. The Wichita swap meet. But the next badge, we're going to jump up to the late 70s, early 80s, to a badge for a car that has gotten extremely popular, or the entire line of these cars have gotten extremely popular over the last few years. The G-Body GM cars. This particular badge actually is for one of mine. The Turbo 3.8 liter Buick badge. This is a 78 to about 84 badge. The 85, 86, 87, you get into the Grand National era, they used a different font layout on it. This is the earlier Turbo 3.8 liter badge for Buick. Still brand new in the GM package. Still got the sticker on the back. David W. made it tonight. So now a lot of people think of Turbo Buicks in the late 70s, and obviously they think of the Turbo Regal, the Grand National, the GNX. They think back when that started. You know, that's right, guy, the Gar guy. It is new old stock. Turbo 3.8 liter. Number one, did Buick only have the engine size? Did the Monty just say turbo? I think the Monty did just say turbo. So I don't think that Monty has had the engine size on it. So don't quote me on that, number one, but I do believe that is correct. But obviously, I've got a 78 Turbo Regal that I've had since high school. I bought it actually probably in junior high. I've still got the car. It's buried in the back corner of the shop. It's one of those I need to get out and get running one of these days. But obviously, you see a Turbo 3.8 badge, and you obviously think of a Turbo Regal, which obviously is by far the most common. When the Grand National came out in 82, and then, they really started ramping them back up in 84, then in 86 when they intercooled them and really started making them scream. That's what people remember. When you look back, when you look back at that time period, the turbo cars in the late 70s, very few of them. Porsche was playing with it, but the only American manufacturer to really crank out a production turbo car was Buick in 78. And a lot of people think that the Turbo Regal was it. That's the one everybody knows. That's the most common one. How many people remember the Turbo LeSabre? Yep, they made them. How many people remember the Turbo Century? Yep, they made them. How about a Turbo Riviera? Yep, they made them. 78, I think, was just Century, LeSabre, and Regal. But they did make a Turbo Riviera in the early 80s as well. So the Turbo 3.8 liter was available in multiple different Buicks. Now, the technology of the time was not great. T-types were turbos. These were turbo cars. They actually didn't even brand these cars T-types in 78. That came a little bit later. So, the car guys supercharged Regals. Yeah, the newer stuff, and you get into the supercharged 3.8s. But these turbos in 78, like I said, they were not rocket ships. I've got one. They could barely get out of their own way. You could barely feel it kick in a little bit after it wound up. These cars were the definition of turbo lag. They would be okay if you were driving down the highway, and it was kind of like a passing gear almost is what it was for. For turbo lag, you needed a calendar instead of a stopwatch on those cars. So Kevin remembers the Turbo Rivies. David says, cool stuff. Didn't know they had them that early. Yep, 1978 was the first year. I've got to get that sign out. Maybe we'll do that on a Toy Tuesday. I've got a 1978 dealer sign, a dealer display that actually has a thing about where it shows it in motion. So you turn it on and it kind of scrolls through, shows the air as like a flow thing to show the air moving through there. So pretty neat piece. I'll have to get that out one of these days as well. So Jeff, first job was washing cars at a Pontiac Buick dealer in that era and loved the Turbo Regal. Jason didn't know that about the Rivs. So but yeah, that's, they put them in about everything actually when it comes right down to it. So it's kind of crazy when you think about it. And as always, be sure to check your autocorrect. We didn't catch that earlier. Be sure to check your autocorrect if you're sending comments, because if I can't make sense of your comment, then I have to skip over it, because I can't if they can't make it out, I've got to skip over it. So be sure to check autocorrect. So when Buick came out with the turbo in 78, that was their big marketing campaign. The only other way to get a production turbo car was to buy a Porsche, which we obviously was considered a full-blown sports car. So it was kind of a neat marketing deal, the way they did it, the way they worked it. Obviously, I know more about it because I've got a 78 Turbo Regal, so I've paid fairly close attention to it over the years. And I've had that car since, gosh, when did I buy that car? Probably 88. Probably about 1980. Yeah, I was about 10 years old when I bought it, so probably around 88, 89, somewhere around there is when I bought that 78 Turbo Regal. So obviously, I've somewhat paid attention to the memorabilia and the ads that went along with them in 78. So anyway, that's what that piece is. And I thought they're again a neat piece, stepping up a few decades, but opens up a whole new era of discussion there. Just like Brandon says, the 80s Turbo Trans Am. Yep, Pontiac put the turbo on their 301. So it that was the test period, I guess, so to speak. Obviously, by 1987, Turbo Regals were screamers. They were the fastest thing GM made. When they intercooled them, fuel injected them, intercooled them, got the got the turbo lag out of them. They were pretty amazing cars. So, but this is where it started with the 1978 Turbo Regal and Turbo LeSabre. And that's what this badge is for. New old stock in the package. Cool piece. Cool piece for me, at least. So, David, drove a Tesla for the first time. Cool. Don't have to use the brake. They're expensive. Yep. Like we talked about earlier, I drove my cousin's. I actually haven't driven my sister's car yet. She bought one. I want to go out and drive her sometime too. So, turbo Chevette. Yeah, like I said, GM turboed a lot of stuff that, just never really took off. The turbo Monte Carlo, all that type of stuff. So, Joe, parents had a 3.8 78 Regal without the turbo. When the air was on the car, it wouldn't get out of its own way. Yeah. Well, mine's a turbo, and it isn't much better, Joe, so don't feel too bad. So anyway, that's the second badge for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the badges. Obviously, two completely different generations, two completely different eras for discussion. However, thanks to you guys, we had a great discussion about both generations with the both different types of vehicles. The 1931 DeSoto headlight bar badge, and the turbo 3.8 liter for the turbo Buicks in the late 70s, early 80s. Didn't the 65, 66 Mustangs run the Paxton Supercharger? They were available on Shelby's. And if you want some more information on the supercharged Shelby's, go back and check out my videos from, it was almost 2 years ago. My good friend Jim Wicks, who is the Shelby guru, when it comes to Ford, performance Fords, Cobras, Shelby's, he's the man. We did some videos at Mecum Indy. His friend was selling his collection of Mustangs or Shelby's and Cobras. And we did some videos, and Jim gave us a lot of details on those Paxtons on the Shelby's in that window. So, Anthony, be sure to go back and check out those videos. A lot of it, good information in them. Like I said, they were from a couple of years ago when we were at Mecum and doing them. So, David, when I was a kid, had a 50cc Honda Mini Trail. They're worth a lot now. Yeah, those are coming up too. So, but anyway, like I said, two different ends of the spectrum, two great conversation pieces tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed them. I hope the hype was worth it on the DeSoto badge. So, nope, the answer is not Studebaker lights on the Buick, number one. So, but who wants to bid to buy on some stuff? Anybody ready for some auction stuff? Let's see what we got tonight. Number one's going to bid $8. You don't even care what it is. Oh, let's see. I got a few things sitting here. We've got 3 cans. We've got a badge. We got all kinds of cool stuff. I got a whole other. I still got my goodie box of junk over here as well, too, just in case we decide to do anything extras. And Jason's going to just go ahead and bid 10 right out of the gate, too. They've been sitting here on the floor. They got some gunk on the bottom of them sitting on the floor. I'm going to wipe these off real quick before we get ready to roll with them. Looks like the gray cat's been rubbing up against them. They got a little cat fur on the bottom of them here, so let's wipe these off a bit here. And then we're going to auction off some pretty cool cans, and we're going to sneak a badge in here as well, and we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Bill says, yeah, they made turbo Chevettes. One very low production, though. So the guy with the car guy says, go for the toilet paper. Yep. Let's see. Lee says the badge first. We'll sneak a can in first, then we'll sneak the badge in. No, David, it's not free for Canadian. Yep, Primer's Love. Yep, she's been rubbing against the can. So she's right over there, sitting on the other desk. Gray Kitty. Gray Kitty. Hey, what are you doing? Everybody wants to see you. You gonna come over? Come here, Gray Kitty. Meow. I guess all you get's a meow. All right. We'll start off with a can, then we'll get to the badge, and we'll do a few more cans. So, but let me get organized here. Let me get this one wrote up so I don't forget. The first one that we're going to auction off tonight is a cardboard can. So it's probably a 70s era. And it's kind of crazy to think that these cardboard cans are getting old. They obviously have not had the following the metal cans have had. However, long term, I think they will, because these cans will literally collapse over time. So we're going to start off with one of these. And the great thing about these is these, typically these are not cans that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. However, they're still cool. They still tell a tale of their time period, which is what this one does. There's no super cool graphics on it, but when you look at the layout of the graphics, it tells me that this thing is probably late 70s, early 80s because of the way the can is designed. This is an Exxon extra motor oil can. So kind of a, like I said, not super flashy with animals or anything on it, but it's got this super cool gold grid pattern on it. We see these stripes over here definitely scream to me early 80s. So like I said, this is not the fanciest, coolest can, but it's a pretty decent can. It is new. It is full. I will drain it. Number one says, pre-Valdez, yeah. And I will drain it unless the buyer wants to pay extra shipping on it for the extra weight. Lee started us off at 10. We'll turn it around. We see the gold grid goes all the way around. Exxon Extra Premium Motor Oil exceeds highest industry standards and is recommended for use in most gasoline-powered cars, vans, and light trucks. Recommended for diesel engines. Proven to help save gas. Offers excellent protection in severe engine tests. Outstanding high-temperature performance. Provides easy starting year-round. I've got Sebastian at 12. Can Nolan do a kissy sound to get the cats to come hang out? So Buzz Roadkill, can looks like Ajax motor oil hybrid. Aaron's on Facebook. But there it is. The Exxon Extra. Like I said, no cool animals or nothing, but still a decent looking can. And like I said, these cardboard cans will collapse over time. So finding a good one and preserving it long term, these cans, I firmly believe, are going to be worth holding on to. So anyway, I've got Sebastian at 12. I'm going to go ahead and kick this one on the timer. So let's get the timer set up. As always, I'm going to give you 90 seconds. And as always, get your last bid in early. When I tell you there's 30 seconds left, try to get it in there, because inevitably, almost every single time we do this, I get a bid in 6-8 seconds after I hammer something sold. So here we go. We're on 90 seconds and we're going on the Exxon can. I've got Sebastian at 12 on the Exxon can. So cool piece. Top's not been punched. I will drain this from the bottom unless the buyer wants to have it shipped full. Anthony, I remember using oil cans like that one. So David W, is it best to drain them so they don't break down? I would, just because to get the fluid out of them. I mean, eventually the fluid is going to wear down on them. There's no doubt about it. 30 seconds has passed. We've got 1 minute left. I've got Sebastian at 12 on the Exxon can. So anybody else get ready to jump in here? We are at 45 seconds as of now, so we're halfway through on the Exxon. So Big Jump says, come on, can collectors, let's get going. Yep. Like I said, this isn't the best, not a $500 can by any means, but it is a decent can. It is one worth holding on to. I've got Lee at 15. 60 seconds has passed. 30 seconds are left. If you're thinking about throwing a bid out there, now is the time to do it, to make sure it gets in prior to the time running out. Jeff, is Exxon still in business? Not sure. There again, that's kind of one of the cool things about some of these cans. So Sebastian, paper cans just don't last like metal when they're full. So Pete just bought 2 Exxon turbo cans. I got Sebastian at 16. We got a little under 10 seconds left. Sebastian at 16 is our high bidder. And that does it. Sebastian at 16. And just go ahead and drain it. So that's kind of what I figured. So We'll set that one off to the side. And who's ready for a badge? This is a cool badge. It's bent up a little bit. It's scuffed a little bit, but it's a cool badge. I dig it. I think you guys are going to like it as well. No, it's not my DeSoto badge. I can tell you that much for sure. But what we've got next is a late 20s era badge for a, no, not a Hudson badge, but I can give you the Hudson badge so you guys can have a drink. I'm sure you're all a little thirsty. The badge we've got tonight, and no, it's not a duplicate of the DeSoto. No, it is a late 20s era Chrysler. It's bent a little bit. It's not laying perfectly flat, so I do want to warn you guys of that. It is not perfectly flat. Do I have any Valvoline cans? I don't have any Valvoline cans set out for tonight. We can try to get some of those worked in if you want some Valvoline cans. But this Chrysler badge, I got Sebastian at 20 right out of the gate on this one. We've got some red enameling here. It's chipped a little bit on the red enameling down here. This was a stud mounted back on this one. Alec came in at 15, but I've already got Sebastian at 20 on the Chrysler badge. So like I said, it's whammoed a little bit over here on the edge, but you really can't tell that just by glancing at it. But it is a cool piece. Good colors on it. Like I said, I think this is late 20s there. I've got Lee at 30 on the Chrysler badge. So, but like I said, this is definitely a good display piece. Like I said, it is bent a little bit, does not lay flat, does have some chipping in the red down here. But overall, and it does have some scratches across there. I want to make sure, I want to try to show you guys the discrepancies in this piece. But it is, 95 years old too. So I guess we can't expect perfection. Okay, we've got some bids coming in. As of right now, my high bidder is Kevin at 40 on the Chrysler badge. So we're going to get ready to put this on the timer. As of right now, make sure I'm caught up. Kevin at 40 is our high bidder, and we are on the timer. Here we go. Kevin at 40 on YouTube is my high bidder. So I'll keep an eye on both formats as always. So please remember, if I announce a bid you don't see, it's probably on either Facebook or YouTube, the platform that you are not bidding on. So I've got Alec at 45 on Facebook. Alec at 45 on Facebook. 30 seconds has passed. We got 1 minute left. Alec is my high bidder. Alec's gotten some great badges that I've sold off, so he's got it getting him a good collection going, or probably adding to a collection the way he's buying badges. So 45 seconds has now passed. We are halfway through. I've got Alec at 45. He is my high bidder. Kevin at 50 on the Chrysler badge. As we come up on 1 minute, let's see. 1 minute has passed. We now have about 30 seconds left. I'm not going to Hawaii anytime soon, number one, so I don't think that going to the Hawaii fun would do me much good. Kevin at 50. We are at 1:15. I've got 15 seconds left. If anybody else is going to throw a bid, I've got Alec at 55. 10 seconds left. Alec at 55 is my high bidder. Sebastian came in at 55 also, but I've already got Alec. A couple seconds left, and that does it. Alec at 55 on the Chrysler badge. And there again, we had another couple bids come in right after the end, but a little bit too late. There again, I'm sure we had some slow system feed issues, and I apologize for that. That's why I use the timer and give everybody forewarning. So Alec at 55 on the Chrysler badge. Cool piece. Hope you dig it. So anyway, another project, Big Job was talking about the 6440. He's interested in that. So if you two can maybe make connections on that 64 Ford Big Job, another project's trying to catch on that. Congratulations to Alec. He's excited. He got a bunch of thumbs up on Facebook. So, but anyway, let's reset the timer. Let's check out a couple of more cans. jot down what I've got coming up here next, and so I don't forget. It's one thing about it. I got to keep my notes straight to keep all this going. So, yeah, I had Alec on Facebook was for the first with 55, and that was the last high, was the high bid I had when time ran out. So, apologize when we're at the mercy of the system on some of this stuff. So, the next can we're going to auction off tonight. This is a pretty cool can. I'm going to say this is probably 60s for another polishing cloth. This is the Atlas Dust and Polish Cloth. Great colors on this thing, the red, white, and blue. It's kind of heavy. I think there's a cloth in it, actually. If I can get it open. Or maybe not. Number one says $11, starting us off at $11 on the can, on the Atlas polishing cloth. Well, I can't get the lid open on this thing. Sebastian at 15. Yep, it's stuck. I think the cloth is in here. And Buzz came in at 15 right after Alec. Another project at 20. Atlas Dust and Polish. Directions. For best results, use the cloth folded. When one part becomes dirty, fold it under. The cloth absorbs dust and dirt without injury to the finest finish on automobiles, furniture, or woodwork. It cleans and polishes at the same time. Dirt will not affect it. The oftener that used, the better the luster. Removes grease and rain spots and dry mud. Will last for months under daily use. When cloth becomes sufficiently dirty, it may be washed in lukewarm water and mild soap. Do not use on wet surfaces. Keep in container. The Atlas Supply Company, made in the USA. So, I've got Alec and Buzz both at 22 on this can, and I didn't see which one popped up first. So, we'll see. We have to have a tiebreaker. We'll get ready to put this. I got another project at 25, so it doesn't matter. Thanks, another project. I was too busy reading the can. William says that's cool. It is neat. So this is a pretty decent can. It's definitely got some wear, some scuffs, some scratches, but cool colors. Really neat piece. So I dig it and hope you guys do as well. We're going to put this one on the timer. I've got another project at 25 on this one as we go on our 90 seconds. So as always, keep your maximum bids in mind and get ready to throw those out there when we get down to that last 30 seconds, just in case. Another project at $25 on the Atlas Dust and Polish Cloth. I've got Alec at 27 on it now. So Alec at 27 is our high bidder. So 30 seconds has passed. We're down to the last 60 seconds. I've got Alec at 27. This is a good looking can. Like I said, I'm guessing this is 60s era. Held up pretty well for its age. The can even says the top even says for automobiles and furniture. And like I said, I'm pretty sure the cloth is in there. Just the top is stuck. I don't have a screwdriver to pop it off, but I don't want to bend the can up either for anybody. So as we come up on 1 minute. So 1 minute has now passed. We've got 30 seconds left to go. I've got Alec at 27 on the Atlas Dust Cloth can. So here we go. We're getting ready to wrap this one up. 15 seconds is left. I've got Alec at 27 still. Getting down to the end on this one. Roadkill at 28. I've got Buzz at 28 on this can. Sebastian at 35. As we get ready to wrap this up, a couple seconds left. And Sebastian at 35 is our winner on the Atlas can. So there we go. That's a great can. Well worth the money on that one for sure. So let's reset the timer and get ready for one more can tonight. This is another cool can. This one is a metal can. We did one of these a few months ago, and they are a good looking can, so I was really happy about it. Let me get some more of the gray kitty off of the top here. Yeah, more fur. I get all this stuff set up, and then she goes and rubs against it. So, right, gray kitty, gray kitty, gray kitty. Yeah, we're talking about you. She's like, why are you bothering me? Pete, got a shirt this week. Great quality and great graphics. Great. I'm glad you like it. So, yep, I've still got nobody's shirts, large, extra large, double, and triple in stock. Get yours. You can be a nobody too. So, anyway, let's see. Yeah, I do have to do some looking. I might still have your number, Big Job. I'd have to do some looking on that. So anyway, the next can, all metal. Jason's already in at 15. Joe's got 10 down. We ain't even got to it yet. We did one of these a few months back, and it is a great looking can, so I thought I'd get another one out. This is a Co-op diesel engine oil, all metal, as we tap it with the Hudson badge. All metal Co-op diesel. 1 U.S. quart. On the back, it's got kind of the Co-op outline on the back. Alec got his shirt. He loves it as well. So I'm glad you guys like the shirts. I did try to get good ones, so I'm glad you guys like it and appreciate that. So Sebastian at 20 and Pete at 20. Sebastian was first. Manufactured in the world's only cooperatively owned lubricating oil refinery by the Consumers Cooperative Association, Kansas City, Missouri, USA, affiliated with National Cooperatives, Inc., International Cooperative Petroleum Association, New York, and London. Pete at 30 is our high bidder. David W. snuck one in there as well. Co-op motor oils are formulated in farmer-owned research laboratories and manufactured in refineries owned and controlled by over 500,000 cooperative members. So, how much are the shirts? The details on shirts is in the text part of this video when you get done. I think they're 22 for large, extra large, and 24 for double and triple, if I remember correctly. So, Buzz has got to go taxi, so he'll be back with us shortly. But the information's on there. You can PayPal friends and family. You can send me a check or money order, whatever works for you. I need to get some more mediums done. I just haven't had time to do that. So right now I've got large, extra large, double and triple in black or gray. So, but anyway, back to the Co-op diesel all metal can. It is full. I will drain it once again unless the buyer requests it doesn't be drained and wants to pay for extra shipping. On the top, it just has the API specs. It says SAE 20 stamped in the can. On the bottom, tell the operator about Co-op diesel oil. So, and you know what that was on there for. Obviously, they're going to punch the top of this thing, tip it upside down, so they put a message right on the bottom. Tell the operator about Co-op diesel oil. I've got Pete at 30. Let's get this thing on the timer and roll. Here we go. Pete at 30 on the Co-op diesel can. And we are live. Another project at 32. As the timer is starting to wind down. And like I said, as always, be sure to keep your max bid in mind for that last 30 seconds to get it snuck in there. We'll throw you up a Hudson badge in the meantime while this one's ticking down. Another project at 32 on the Co-op can. As we come up on the 30-second mark, we have 1 minute left on this one. Keep an eye on both formats as we go through here. And just about to the halfway point on this one. Another project at $32 as 45 seconds has passed. We are halfway through. Good looking can, all metal. So I'm betting this is, a 60s era can. It looks like it with this kind of copper or goldish colored lines and stuff. To me, it looks like a 60s era type layout. So another project at 32. 1 minute has passed. Pete's in at 33. We've got 20 seconds left. Pete at 33 on the Co-op can. And 15 seconds is now left. And we're down to about 10. Pete at 33. Watching to see if we got any other bids popping in as we get down to the last few seconds on the Co-op can. Sebastian at 38. And that pretty much wraps it up. I've got Sebastian at 38. Does it have a barcode? I don't see any barcodes on it anywhere. So, Sebastian at 38 on the Co-op can. So, as always, thanks for playing tonight. Had a great time. The auction stuff is a lot of fun. blow that back out. So I got some more cans this weekend as well. Rusty Nell says that was pre-64. And then there again, I just had more bids come in on Facebook. So we obviously had a pretty serious time delay on those. I apologize, Oscar. We're just and that's why I put them on the timer so we can get them in early. It happens inevitably every week. We run into that 2 or 3 times. So that's why I try to warn you. I apologize, Oscar. It was just popped up. So. But anyway, a lot of fun. Always a good time doing those. Enjoy them. Glad you guys do as well. But like I said, we just got to make sure we get them in early. So and actually I put them on the timer not just to run them down, but to make sure everybody knew when they were going to end. So, okay. So Sebastian's going to pay tonight. Bring PayPal. Make sure it's friends and family on that, Sebastian. If you got any questions, just give me a shout, and we can get that stuff on the way to you. So, anyway. That's what we've got for the auction stuff. Appreciate it, everybody. William says, great shows. Keep up the good work. Thanks. Everybody looks like they're getting a little thirsty out there. As we get ready to shift into tonight's magazine. Like I said, tonight's magazine layout's going to be a little bit different. Because it is a great Oscar. It's perfect. No problem. Not a problem next time. Perfect, Oscar. I hope you come back and join us. I don't remember I've seen you comment very much, so I'm glad you're on with us. And we have a lot of fun on here. So like I said, if we continue to have feed issues, you can always jump over on YouTube as well there. So, but tonight's magazine, like we looked at, Dispatch sent me this in the viewer box the other night because it had one of my all-time favorite cars on the front, the 1965 Pontiac 2+2. Tom McCahill's Car Owner Guide. Inside facts, money-saving tips, honest answers from America's top automobile author. Sebastian will have to send in some of his duplicates to auction off. So, speaking of which, though, got another box of cans this weekend from Pole Barn Garage. So, we're going to work some of those into the trivia stuff as well. So, huge shout out to Pole Barn Garage for bringing us another batch of cans for Sunday night. So, David W says he did move over from Facebook due to the lag time. So thanks, David. Appreciate you throwing that out there because that does answer some questions there. So Gasher 61's got to bail off. But anyway, this Tom McCahill's Car Owner Guide, as I was getting ready last night, Tom McCahill wrote, I believe for Mechanics Illustrated, did all their road tests and things for years, and was very well known in the car world because he did so much of this in the 60s. So as I started working through this magazine last night, like I said, this isn't going to be our typical check out some car builds or customs or new ones. Don's on with us. This magazine covers all different parts of car ownership. Now, it's kind of weird to think about different parts of car ownership. In 1965, most households may have just had one car, maybe two, and that was it. I mean, it was a pretty big deal. It wasn't, where most households have at least 2 or 3 cars anymore. If you got kids, you got way more than that. Or there's people like me that are dumb and have 20 or 30, because it seemed like a great idea at the time. So, but that's what's different. But what amazed me the most about going through this magazine and looking at the topics and touching on, obviously I couldn't read the whole magazine. We don't have time to read the whole magazine tonight. Was even though it was a completely different time period, it was 50 plus years ago, how different it is, but yet the same. That's what was kind of surprising. We'll start off with the very first article was buying a new car, and obviously the pictures are great. Obviously these old all this stuff from the 60s, the whole train loads of cars. But when it started off, and I hate this because I don't want to highlight in these magazines, but as I go through them the night before, there's so many good points I always want to catch. But, even here, a Ford showroom with a fastback Mustang sitting on display. But all this stuff comes back down to basics. Choice depends on the use you want of your car and the size of your bankroll. The same thing it is today. The girth of a buyer's bank account is quite often the one and only controlling factor when he is shopping for a new car. If he has more money than the Aga Khan, it doesn't matter about shoving his credit to the explosion point. What to buy is quite simple. He will buy the best. His opinion of what is best might be wrong, but it's his dough. He'll buy the best as he sees it. But there again, just like what a lot of people run into today, talking about financing and all the stuff that goes along with it. And like I said, we could get into this, but the more I study this, the more it's the same thing we see today. I don't think they sold gap insurance and wheel insurance and all that other stuff back then, but a lot of it all boiled back down to the same thing. What do you need and what can you afford? The same thing we look at today. So Chris has got to jump off. Appreciated the yard walk today. Let's just keep up the great videos. Thanks. I appreciate it. But here again, more new cars. Fastback Mustang, Chevrolet display, Plymouth. So much cool stuff in here. So many cool pictures. Like I said, we could go on forever about it. Just not enough times. But we're going to hit some of these articles and hit some of the highlights. But obviously, this is the new car article if you're new car shopping. Including some new models like the Marlin. American Motors' new fastback hardtop shown at the right features their unitized all-steel body construction. There again, something fairly new in the 60s. The unibody Marlin, new car for that era. New Ramblers. That's right, Alex said shouldn't buy more than you can afford. Most people don't live by that, but it's a great point, Alec, but most people don't go by that, it doesn't seem like. So, Guy the car guy loves old mags. He's got a stack himself. William, born in 62. Remember the old 50s and 60s cars? So, and then here again, and this was on the cover, this part of it. And there again, like I said, the 65 2+2, by far one of my favorite cars. Though Pontiac has many fine models for 1965, the most outstanding of them all is the 2+2 shown in these top two photos. Top styling and good performance ranks this car high. The 2+2 interior is equally superb in texture and design with the 421 engine and the 4-barrel. It will go from 0 to 60 in 7.3 seconds and top out at just over 130 miles an hour. So obviously, there again, the 65 2+2, he's a fan of it just like I was. So definitely highlighted that in the new car feature for this magazine. BW is running a little bit late tonight, but he made it. That's good. David W. loves the Marlins. They are cool cars. The next part of an article, the next article actually in this magazine, we talk about how to buy a new car, how to buy a used car. That's where they went next with this. Daniel, do you think if we had an Autobahn, we'd fix the speeding problems in the U.S.? I doubt it because you couldn't put enough of them in. You couldn't. I mean, to cover the whole country, there's no way to do it. The used car section, there are bargains to be had for the discerning man with patience. Now, one thing that I've noticed right out of the gate in the first couple of articles, this is all directly sent straight towards the male buyer. Back in that era, the male primarily did do it. Obviously today, women do it just as much as men, but back then this was all geared towards male buyers, just the way it looks. So William Cumbie had a big fish on the back in 65. That's what the Marlins had on them. So. Brazil is on Claudio Brazil. But they started this article off. Big Job says it's cool magazine so far. Well, good, because it's a little bit different. We're shifting gears a little bit, so I'm glad you dig it. Yes, he is actually literally kicking the tire in the picture. It says that in the text. One thing a buyer can do is kick the tires. This doesn't tell him a thing, but at least it does emotionally involve him in the deal. So, yes, he is literally kicking the tire in that picture. Used cars, like worn-out snakes and second-hand brides, should be approached with some suspicion. The bulge in the buyer's wallet will undoubtedly be the guiding factor in buying a used car. The same rules apply on such transactions as found in our chapter on buying a new car. There are a number of twists, however, that are directly opposite in a used car choice that should be taken into consideration. For example, if you read the chapter on buying a new car, you will probably remember that it was pointed out that many new cars held their resale or trade-in value far better than some of the competition. through this simple factor of buyer popularity. This is not necessarily a guide to quality or longevity, as many unpopular cars from sales standpoint are actually superior to their more sought-after competitors. For this reason, the smart used car buyer in the market for transportation, rather than an investment, would quite often do better in buying an unpopular new car when it becomes a used car, and because obviously because of the depreciation. So, but there again, buyer demand is what drives a lot of the used car market. Look at Jeeps. You look at, the Jeep, four-door Jeeps, the Jeep Wranglers, or whatever they call them now, the actual Jeeps, they're still a fortune. Buyer demand is still high, even for 10-year-old high mileage ones. Some of the other cars, not quite so much. But, a lot of this was a lot of basic tips that a lot of people didn't think of, especially back in the 60s. Car buying for the general public back in the 60s, they may have done it once, every several years, and a lot of people still do it today. I'm a little jaded because I buy cars almost every week. Some salvage, some good. I still buy running driving cars. I buy a little bit of everything. So, a lot of pointers. Always hire a mechanic you can trust to go over your perspective, hopeful. It breaks down an awful lot of different details of what to look for on used cars from that era. And obviously, no way to get into all of this. But one thing I thought was very interesting, talking about a vinyl top. You can see here they're looking at a car with a vinyl top on it. The text on it says, skin covering the top of a car should be checked for signs of a rollover. Don't, under any circumstances, buy a vehicle that's been wrecked. So I thought that was interesting to try to put a vinyl top on it, try to cover up a rollover. Maybe Dalton could go with that on the Roadrunner. I'm going to throw that at him. I don't think it's going to matter. I think you're going to be able to tell that was rolled, whether you put a vinyl top on it or not. So anyway, let's see. Lots of comments coming up there. BW's working on his stuff. So after you get through the used car buyer's guide, the next segment was how to become a good driver, mental preparedness for dangerous road situations that can save your life. So literally driving tips. There's a 64 Impala. Yeah, 64 Impala in the picture. It talks about emergency situations, learning control, cornering, and gets some pretty basic stuff in here. Slow signs, curve signs, railroad tracks, railroad signals. Pretty basic stuff. Learning control, here's that section. Cornering, here's that section. And the next couple more good pictures. They got passing on the next section, but this is 60s technology, so this was a pretty big deal. This is an actual photo of a car jumping a stop sign into a heavily traveled thoroughfare. You see the action shot right here, pulling out in front of it. Looks like a 65 Pontiac wagon. Talks about how to handle blowouts. Sports cars. Skid tests in a sports car. And here's some more of the skid tests where they were showing what happens in sequence in the skid tests. Safe cruising speeds. Got out of the car guy. That's how they end up in your junkyard. Yep. That's how some of them end up here. What to do if your car goes out of control. What to do if you're a sleepy driver. All these tips to be a safe driver. That's a good point David W. just brought up. Some people still need those tips. Yes, there is some truth to that. Absolutely. Driving on snow and ice. Driving in extreme heat. Now, this next picture Shows a wrecked car. And it really baffles me, the car does. And I'm not sure where they were going with this. It says such is the force of impact and crashes that a large percentage of people in cars lose their shoes in an accident. So it shows a wrecked car with a pair of shoes laying beside it. What baffled me about this is the car. This appears to be a 1964 Pontiac Catalina two-door post. Okay, typically a basic cheap Catalina. The car's got 8 lugs on it. I thought that was extremely weird. What was it? I mean, was this like a 421, Catalina coupe that got wrecked? There's a factory 8-lug car. Who knows? But a two-door sedan, a base cheap two-door sedan with 8 lugs, there weren't very many of those made, and most of them were made for a reason. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So that definitely stood out to me, for that to be a basic Catalina post with 8 lugs on it in that damaged vehicle picture. BW, got my first real advertisement sign today. Blackjack header sign, real header bolted on a board with specs and bullet points. That sounds pretty cool. Big Job is getting thirsty. I apologize. I'm focusing on this magazine, and I done forgot it. Some Mayberry police cars, says Brian. But after you get through the safety driving section, you get to something else that's a huge deal today: improving your gas mileage. A driver's habits can alter gas consumption more than any other cause, which is 200% true. And, just because something is rated a certain mile per gallon, depending on how you drive, makes all the difference in the world. If you are constantly stopping and going on and off the gas, don't use cruise control, you're going to get horrible gas mileage. I don't care how you slice it, it's going to happen. If you don't maintain a consistent speed, a slower speed, things like that, even the difference between 65 and 70 mile an hour is big on gas mileage. This talked a lot about the mobile economy runs. And it says, entrance in the 1964 mobile economy run passed the finish line at the World's Fair. The miles per gallon average for all cars entered was 21.77 miles per gallon. This is in 1964. The average was almost 22 miles per gallon. So the cars weren't that bad. And this was the average of everything, big cars and everything. So, but it's kind of crazy. Few pictures here of the mobile economy runs, but it talks a lot. And there again, this is a driver information magazine. That was the point of it. And that's what they talked about. And that's what makes the difference is driver habits. When they're tested in a controlled environment, they can tell you what they can do. But when you are, like I said, on and off the gas, not using cruise control, stop, go, or don't, especially if you don't use your cruise control on the highway and you're constantly in and out of the gas, it will slaughter your gas mileage. Same thing today, same thing 50 some years ago. Exactly the same thing happens. The next section that they got into, and there again, we've got to keep in mind as we look back with 2020 hindsight on this magazine, that this is designed for your general consumer, not people like us who are heavy car guys. This was all designed for your general consumer. This next segment was on instant troubleshooting. With this equipment, car dealers could have lots of satisfied customers. Above is Field Service Director W.P. Sanderson Jr. with the latest Bear engine test equipment. The Bear Company runs a fully accredited school for professionals. Shows some, obviously by today's standards, extremely antiquated testing equipment. David W., did they used to overinflate tires to get more mile per hour for economy runs? I've never heard that, but I could see that happening. But you've got to remember the economy runs were done by mobile gas, not the manufacturer. So the mobile oil company is who did them. So they really didn't have anything to gain unless they could prove that their fuel did it. So. But I'm sure they could do that. But there again, overall, it still was not bad for the day. Not near as bad as a lot of people think they were. And as we get into some more of the diagnostic stuff, you can see a lot of testing going on. These pictures, they're small, black and white. They're not very clear to make out exactly what they were doing. Big job. Stay alive, drive 55, the campaign of the day. Dispatch, the high supplies rolled pretty easily. At the end of the test pit, condition of caster and camera alignment is indicated on modern test gauge. At right, the car rests on a rear wheel dynamometer, which tests torque output, also tests braking power of all four wheels. Below, the latest caster and camera gauge shows exact degree of each factor. So there again, trying to show off some of the bare test equipment. Obviously, most of the stuff in today's world doesn't make much sense. It is cool to look back and check some of it out, but obviously pretty much irrelevant in today's world, other than for collector pieces. I've got some cool old Sun equipment that I've been a big fan of that I really dig. So I do like some of that stuff. There is a little bit of a demand for it, not huge, but some guys do dig that old test equipment to display with their old cars. And speaking of tires, that's the next segment in our consumer-minded car owner guide for 1965. The best buy in tires, smart car dealers can get you better tires with little or no markup. Sebastian, I want a wall unit from Sun Testing. Yeah, I've got a big cabinet tester. I've got a distributor tester. Never used them. Don't know if they work, but I've got them. Richard Petty, famous race car driver, holds a full-size race tire to compare with a regular tire. Race tires are not practical for regular car use. So there, we'll try to get this one up close where you see Richard Petty with a racing tire comparing it to a standard tire for that era in 1965. After the tire segment, we get the tips on travel. Like I said, this is completely consumer-minded. David had a 69 LTD with a 302, got 22 miles per gallon on the interstate from Ohio to Pennsylvania. Yeah. And that stuff did. The mile per gallon, the gas mileage was not as bad as what people think. If those old cars were tuned right, the carbs were set right, the plugs were clean, and you were consistent in your driving habits, a lot of those old cars did pretty well on mileage. Way better than most people assume they did. Tips on travel. Proper mental attitude will make long trips fast and pleasant. Today, good motels are found in almost all sections of the country, but check them before signing up. Always carry a small fan. When on the road, you may find you need it to get a good night's sleep. Never start out on a long, hard trip unless you have your car completely checked and serviced. He said that was in the 80s he did that. Yep. I know it's that other way. We had a lot of Hudsons today. The yard walk had more than a handful. eBay had a lefty, and it's going to be a pair of vet ones. So there's some more Hudson badge for you. Alec, as diagnostic, nothing like they are today. Too much dependent on computers. That's absolutely true for sure. Brian, amen, Chad. I tell people all the time about mile per gallon. Yep, that's true. The tips on travel stuff, though, this stuff was pretty neat. And once again, you've got to remember, back in the 50s and 60s, that's when people were starting to travel a lot. It didn't happen a lot before that. Disney World didn't open until 1955. A lot of this stuff didn't start becoming until the 50s and 60s, where people went on a lot of vacations and went out and did things. They had the means and the vehicles that they could jump in and go hit the road for a while. So some of these tips are great. Big job. Yep, I saw your Sun equipment in the background of some videos. Yep, I think it's cool stuff, personally. The secret of a speedy, successful trip is to keep up your mile per hour average. An occasional break for coffee you carry will keep up your energy. David W., freeways were new. Yep, that's, that Freeway Act started in the 50s, so throughout the 60s and 70s is when they built them. So, with Scotch coolers along, you can eat on the wayside instead of delaying stops at restaurants. And there again, you've got to remember, in the 60s, not near as much fast food like it is today. You didn't go to the drive-thru, grab something, and keep rolling. You typically would have had to go sit down in a restaurant and wait. That's right. Joe says interstates, yep, on Facebook. So that's definitely made a difference as well. But literally has a cool picture of the old station wagon with a cooler in it, setting up their picnic lunch. So be sure to check your exit well ahead of time so you won't find it necessary to stop in dangerous areas. This is no place to study a map. Right there, as they're coming up on their interstate, shows them with their map out in a convertible, trying to figure out which exit they need to take. That's right, Sebastian. The only highway to travel pre-1950s was the Lincoln Highway, which predates Route 66. Yep. Plan your trip carefully, whether you intend to cover every point of interest if you have the time, or simply get from point A to point B. Another good point. Guy the car guy, when I'm on the road, no restaurants until I get to my destination for the night. Yep, saves a lot of time. On lengthy trips, the overnight stop should be pleasant and comfortable. If motel is not a familiar one, first check the room thoroughly. Before stopping for the night, always fill up your gas tank. McCahill watches his car take 22 gallons, preparing for an early morning start. And that's another good point. Get ready, you pull over, you get ready to crash for the night. Stopping and you're going ahead and getting filled up so you're ready the next morning. Still not a bad tip today. What's great about this, though, is the picture. Super cool Imperial, Sky Chief pump plate. So there again, neither one of those pieces were the topic of the article. The topic was to fill your gas tank up. But a super cool Imperial with a Sky Chief pump plate in the background really makes that picture pop. So definitely wanted to share that. David W., I wonder what the wagon to sedan sales ratio was back then. I'm sure it's different for all cars. But, I don't know what the overall would have been. Now, the next segment, the next chapter in this user guide is super cool because of the picture on the top. Fuels and lubricants. Good fuel for one engine may be inferior for another. Obviously, that's great. Cities, Esso, Sunoco, Gulf, Texaco, American Standard, whatever you want to call it, multiple different ones. Phillips 66. Great picture there. Kevin, that's why they put rest stops in. Check maps, use the restroom. Good point. That's for sure. Of course, anymore, we just punch it into here. But I don't always trust that thing either. I still carry a map with me. Talks about lubricants, crankcase oils. It's almost impossible nowadays to turn on your television set or radio without seeing or hearing major oil company commercials that tell you of the wonderful advantages you will receive when using their products. There is also a tremendous group of car owners who feel that all gasolines are alike, and so are all lubricants. As many of you know, I have tested and worked for several major oil companies. Gasoline, like a good whiskey or tobacco, is a blend of many things. But the man who says all gasolines are alike doesn't know what he's talking about. So, obviously, this is 1965. We're talking about that. We definitely run into today with ethanol blends and things like that we've got to be careful about as well. So, big job. My 94 F350 turbo diesel with 373 gears at 55 got 31 miles per gallon. David W., our family used to go on vacation and not know where we were going to stay each night until we got there. So lots of differences, lots of great pictures here as well. Test your fuel. Find out which of the gasolines gives your car best performance and stick with it. On the market are oils, additives, cleaners, and inhibitors claiming to improve your car's performance. Tom suggests buying the finest oil you can get without a detergent. Change your oil cartridge every 5,000 miles or about every other oil change. It pays off. That's a little different. Of course, they changed your cartridge. A lot of stuff was still cartridge filters back then, not spin-ons. But obviously anymore, we definitely would not want to do that today. We change oil filters every time. Always have differential check for proper amount of lubricant and possibility of leakage. Finally, don't be fooled by the ads. Buy good oil and keep it clean. Then let nature function. So let's check out some of these pictures, because these are all great pictures with oil cans and stuff. Obviously, filling up with fuel, looks like at a Gulf station. Talking about changing your filter. Up here, the different types of oils, checking your differential, and then buy premium quality oil, holding up a Texaco can, Texaco Haviland, I believe, like we've got some before. I think we've sold a few of those on here as well. So obviously, definitely digging that article with all the pictures and info in it. Dispatch, all your guys' collector cans were brand new then. That's right. Yep. Big job, miss seeing the Enco signs. Joe says, bring back Ethel. I loved her. Next article. And you got to remember, like I said, this is the car owner's guide. Conked out. You're in a nasty situation if your car poops out miles from nowhere. It's not so bad on modern turnpikes. Eventually, an emergency truck will come along and get you moving. Recently, on a long deserted stretch with the temperature unhappily at 10 degrees below zero, the test car I was driving developed some serious electrical trouble. The roads were practically deserted. Most service stations were closed. I had almost 200 miles to go. The car developed a dead short in the wiring somewhere with my headlights were blinking on and off as the circuit breaker snapped and snapped, and the alternator showed a dangerously high charge. So there again, a lot different. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and your car dies, back then, you had to find some help. You had to get a ride. You had to find a service station. Now, we've got these things. As long as you got a signal, you can get a hold of somebody, somehow, somewhere. So that was something that, back then was a lot bigger deal than it is now. Plus, vehicles are a lot more dependable now. There was a lot of issues back then where you could blow a hose, you could have an electrical problem, things like that. They can still happen today, but we just don't see it nearly as often as what, they used to see back in the day. A lot of stuff still had points. You're dealing with carburetors, things like that. So got out of the car, got memorize your mile markers. Yep, that was one way to do it. So that was another segment in the owner's guide, was to how you handle your situation if your car died on you while you were driving. The next segment is keeping your car young. If you want your car to last, it must have care and gentle treatment. When the car is new, don't run the engine much more than an hour without complete cool off. Raise the hood, sit on the side of the road, and read a magazine while the car cools off. Who would do that? Who would do that in today's world? Alec, most cars today have cruise control standard. Were there many manufacturers that offered cruise then? Not really. In the mid-'60s, cruise control was just starting to come about. The stuff prior to the mid-'60s were essentially throttle locks. I've seen a few of them on various cars. I've seen a 61 Pontiac that had it. And essentially, it was a throttle lock. It was a knob you turned under the dash and literally locked your throttle pedal where it was at. But an actual cruise control was the mid-'60s is when those really started coming about, Alex. So at the time, no, most cars did not have them at that point. Big Job says, nice magazine so far. Good. Sebastian, on my free days, I occasionally stop and read a book. So yeah, I'm gonna go over that again. Just think about this. When the car is new, don't run the engine much more than an hour without complete cool off. Raise the hood, sit on the side of the road, and read a magazine while the car cools off. Who in today's world would ever do that? That's crazy. At top right, hydrometer is used to test each cell of a battery. So different, who tests a battery anymore? Almost every battery out there is sealed. So that's something you don't ever see either. Dispatch, 67 Buick Cruisers ran off the auto trans fluid pressure. That I'm not sure about. That I don't know. Copper screen of air filter requires periodic cleaning or dust may cause excessive motor wear. Copper screen on your air filter. Not something we're very familiar with today at all. A radiator rust inhibitor. It is a soluble oil type, will also help lubricate your water pump. Mud, sand, and other debris of the road will ruin the interior if not removed with a vacuum cleaner. Engine blocks that are clean are easier to service. Spray on a degreaser and wipe with cloth. So just some basic car care cleaning type tips, basic stuff. But there again, we're going to put ourselves back in 1965. Obviously, we're probably on here tonight because we're gearheads, we're car guys. But back then, a lot of people, that's why this is literally a car owner's guide. They obviously printed this because it sold. People bought it. They studied it. They didn't know a lot of this stuff. Have nicks, dents, bumps, and corroded parts taken care of as soon as possible, or rust will start eating your car away. Experts in the field can do wonders with a car. Fix it almost as good as new. Reshaping, grinding, and sanding to bare metal before turning it over to the painter who can match any color. Now, something else definitely different in this picture from what we see today. David, my old IH truck had a throttle knob beside the choke knob. Yep, and they did. Auto paint shop, body and fender repairs, rust removed. And shows them working on a Volkswagen Bug here to work, taking some dents out of it. And in the next picture, our painter is getting after it, getting ready to spray some color on there. Paint gun, air hose, and that's it. And a t-shirt. No mask, no safety glasses, no bodysuit, t-shirt, paint gun, air hose. We're ready to shoot some color. That's the way they did her back then. A car that's been cared for requires only mild soaping, hosing, and immediate drying with a towel. Best waxing job is a heavy paste wax that must be rubbed on hard, then rubbed off and polished. Plastic covering may protect your car from the elements, but condensation may cause upholstery to rot. Undercoating protects the bottom of your car for years. Liquid glaze buffed gives high luster to a car. So, that's right, David W. says he was shooting some lacquer. So here we go, showing off a super cool 59 Buick at the wash bay, waxing one wrapped in plastic, and then here we go, like they were talking about, liquid glaze $14.95 and new plastic undercoating $24.95. You got to remember that was pretty big money back in the day. Most people were making $1.50, $2 an hour, so that was pretty decent chunk of change to get those services done. Here's something kind of interesting we might even be able to use today. Wall fenders in the garage made of old hose fastened to a wall will save the car's door finish. Kind of a good tip. Literally just figured out where the impact point could be on your car hitting the wall and put a couple of rubber hoses against the wall so that it would bump into the rubber hoses that would smack into your wall. The next chapter in the Car Owner's Guide for 1965, tune-ups for the amateur. There is much a handyman can do, no matter how complex the engine. So they're getting into some basic actual tune-up information in this segment of the Car Owner's Guide. And there again, we've got to remember, this is for your John Q. public. This isn't for your regular techs or mechanics in the day. 1965, people were getting their cars painted at Earl Shop. That's right, big job, like $49.99 or whatever for a paint job. This talks about spark timing, efficient choke control, checking the distributor for a weak breaker arm, clogged air cleaners. A tailpipe that is pushed into the muffler that is torn or dented, causing restriction at the exhaust outlet, will rob the engine of its best output. Be sure the air filter element in the oil filter breather cap is always kept clean. It's one of the most neglected service items on an automobile. So please remember that. In today's world, when your breather cap on your valve cover is clogged, make sure you clean it up. Something we don't see today anymore. You twist that plastic cap on, that's all you worry about. Prevent electrical trouble by making sure that generator terminals are always free of corrosion. Clean the terminals periodically with sandpaper. Keep the battery terminals clean, or there will be high resistance and consequent fuel voltage drop. Weak ignition will increase gas consumption. Well, yes, you come to see us. We have a guest. Come here. Yes. Yes, there. Everybody wanted to see you. You say hi to everybody? Yes, look, everybody's watching you. You're right there. See ya? Yes, you see yourself? Yes, everybody was asking you where you were at. Well, there you are. You came to see everybody. You don't care. You want to go back to sleep. You're purring, so you seem to be in a good mood. See, David says hi to you. Yes, hi. How are you doing? Are you going to say hi to everybody? Yes, you are. You do want to say hi? Number one's trying to bid on you. Yes, hi. It was nice of you to make an appearance tonight. See, Sebastian says hi. Yes, you don't care, do you? Yes, you don't care. You want to sit down and join us? Kevin says there he is. Howdy from Texas. Texas is saying hi to you. All right, we got to get back to our magazine, dum-dum. Elwood and Mac are saying hello. You want to sit? There, go sit. Yes, sit so we can keep working on our magazine. The Car Owner's Guide. But anyway, here are the pictures correlating with making sure your terminals are clean, making sure your breather cap is clean, making sure you don't have any restrictions in your exhaust. Once again, small black and white pictures. You kind of had to work with what you had. But that's what you had back in 1965. So, meow. Yes, hi. Other maintenance items. Obviously, spark plugs, a big thing that a lot of individuals could do. And definitely, and actually had a lot of pictures about this, showing different types of issues with spark plugs to watch for. There again, we've got to remember this was for John Q. Public. Pretty basic type knowledge. So that's what they were squeezing in here into this Car Owner's Guide for your average general public purchaser. Yes, are you making yourself at home? Why don't you sit down? Why don't you sit down? That would be a great idea. Now, something else that was really becoming an issue in this time period in the 60s, American or foreign cars. Obviously, you know what my answer to that would be. But, you know, there have been more foreign cars sold. Get your tail out of the way. In this country since World War II than were sold on these shores since the invention of the automobile. You want to sit down or you just want to flick your tail? Park it. There you go. Park it. But one cool thing about it is their comparison. They had a ton of great badges. Obviously, we're a fan of emblems and badges. We're going to hold this up for a second. Let's check them out. Coronet, Fury, Corvette Stingray, GTO, Mustang, Starfire, Wildcat, Dart, Grand Prix. Lots of cool stuff there. You want to? Oh, you want to read? You want to read too? What are you doing? Why don't you read the article? You're here. Why don't you read the article to everybody? Doesn't badge. What are you doing, goofball? They can't see the magazine because you're standing in the way. Do you mind? How about you sit? Come here. You can sit, but you need to sit. There you go. Sit. Yeah, that's not an eye. She was sitting the wrong way. All right, park it. So obviously this talked about some of the benefits and non-benefits of American versus foreign. Obviously, for me, I'm an American car buyer, always have been. Does have some more great pictures. The Renault Caravelle, the Rolls-Royce, the Carmen Ghia. Yeah, she is helping. Yeah, she's being a pain in the butt, aren't you? You're just being a pain in the butt. She's trying to take over the show, that's for sure. And some more great pictures of American cars. The Cadillac Calais, this Corvette Stingray. The Hudson badge. The next segment, and like I said, we're just about done. We're about ready to wrap this up. A couple more cool segments, and we'll be done with this magazine. Like I said, I didn't know what we were going to get into on this thing. The Lincolns, any coupes? No, I don't have any Lincoln coupes, and I don't think so. I don't know. It depends on what era we're talking about. Actually, pro stock. Sebastian, don't you have that little tiny Italian car in the yard? The Auto Bianchi's gone. It sold right away, so it is gone. The next segment, getting peak performance. Stock car race drivers who want top performance go to the independent mechanic who is a specialist. Alec, you held up the Hudson badge. She went looking for a beverage. Yeah, actually, she's curled up in the other chair over there now. So David W. says it is a cool magazine. Good. Specialists check the new valve guides he replaced in the block. It is important that they be placed in the exact position. Truing a crankshaft is done only by an expert craftsman. The engine crankshaft is the backbone of the engine. Number one, that was the third Car McGee of the day. Yep. So pretty cool road racing shots, some pretty cool machinist shots in there. Richard Petty, the champion stock car driver, checks over car's motor to put it back in top shape. Ray Fox uses a micrometer on a crankshaft, is recognized as one of the top mechanics in the country. Fox is a speed specialist who can make any year go a bit faster. Here he is measuring cylinders. Racemen call on him to prepare their cars for Daytona races. Fox alters pistons for more RPM. So some pretty cool shots there of some 60s technology. Kind of tough to see. Obviously, the first shot with Richard Petty. Looks like we got some pretty big, wide spread out rocker arm shafts on that one. So that's probably more than likely one of the Hemis that they were running at that point. A mechanic measures pressure exerted by valve springs and reworks them for speed performance. At right, Fox checks carbs. He set up a car that did 181 mile per hour for a close track record. Below, Ray Fox grinds valves. By reducing metal, he can add as much as 300 RPM to stock engines. So there again, some pretty cool things. Obviously checking valve springs. Valve train, still a huge issue today. Frank says, hi, Gray Kitty. Especially with all the drag and drive events out there, obviously we do Rocky Mountain Race Week. You got tons of friends that do Rocky Mountain Race Week and Race Week, as well as Sick Week and Drag Week and all those. Valve trains still an issue. Dispatch, no typical black rim glasses. Exactly. Definitely 60s there. But valve trains, even today, getting to hold up on drag and drive cars for 1,000 miles is tough to do. And then, of course, carburetor tuning, valve testing. So here we are 50 some years later, valve train's still an issue on some of these cars. Next article, living versus dying. Car manufacturers can bring down the annual death toll on roads. Be safe, play it safe, or any other instruction designed to keep you alive to many Americans is about as pleasant as here as tax collectors. But what this talks about is being safer. It talks about something that at the time was, definitely, if you had them, you sure didn't use them. Safety belts, obviously today, you almost can't get in a car without 47 dingers going off until you put them on. Back in 1965, most people didn't even know what they were, weren't even going to use them. In fact, I'm not even sure they were standard yet by 65. It was right in there when they became standard. But, there again, talking about some of the safety features and how to use them to be safe. On the next page, car manufacturers recommend tire pressures may be all right for short, slow runs, but higher pressures are needed for high-speed cruising. Pete says he thinks 67 is when seatbelts became mandatory. It was somewhere right in there, but I'm not sure on the exact year. So there we're talking about tires. Here we go with some super cool NASCAR shot. National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing enforces a rule that the doors of all competing cars must be bolted and strapped shut before racing, which We know they have the doors bolted shut anyway, but still a great picture of some 60s era stock cars. So definitely wanted to check that out. Big Job says that magazine got a thumbs up from the missus. Well, that's good. I'm glad some of you guys are enjoying it. How about taking a drink? Now, and there are a few ads. We will catch the few ads that are in here after this. But this ad, or this last article, I really thought was great, especially in today's world where everybody's trying to give you a credit card. Everybody's trying to issue you credit. It's just crazy with what they're trying to do. Credit cards and auto clubs. Tourists who look for a clean place to eat in a clean atmosphere or want the comforts of a home in a motel or hotel should look for signs of accreditation by organizations such as these, where it talks about AAA and Diners Club and American Express, things like that. Mike says it wasn't 67, but for the 68 model year. Okay, so Pete was right. The mandate came out in 67, but it was not mandatory until 68. So obviously with, credit card companies today, where you throw away applications every day, gets a little old. The cool part about this was the pictures of them. David W. Studebaker Avanti set a record for fastest production cars in 63, 64. Hudson. But this was what I thought was great. Texaco, Mobil, Phillips, Gulf, Esso, American Express, and Diners Club cards. These are somewhat collectible pieces. You do see them on eBay. They are cool gas and oil pieces, so they're neat ones as well. So that's kind of why I wanted to show that off. Brian, in Canada, any pre-71 car without factory-installed seatbelts, you cannot be charged by police for not having them in the car. And it also talks about the guarantee on, how to study a lot of this stuff, the guarantees that come with a lot of these companies and a lot of the promotions they had back in the day. And that pretty much wraps it up. We're going to check a couple of ads real quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time on these ads, but we're going to catch a couple of them because there are a few new ones. Tune up electronically any car ever made with a dwell tachometer. Back in the day, that was a pretty important piece of diagnostic equipment that a lot of mechanics used. Norma says that was a great magazine. Well, good. Like I said, very few ads in here, but we'll catch a few of them, which means they probably must have sold a heck of a lot of these. We'll kind of flip towards the back and catch a couple more. Like I said, not much in here. On the back inside cover, you can order an American-made by American Craftsman toolkit from Hamilton House. Made in the USA for lifetime service and performance. Buy quality with confidence. Compare socket wrench outfit. $15.95. Great mag. Too bad it got back and dropped in the bathtub. Yeah, well, Brian sent it to us to share it with us. So even though it's a little rough around the edges, he still thought enough of it to send it in so we could all share it. So, Donnie, are you the Chad Pole Barn Garage talked about? Yep, that's me. They got here yesterday. We loaded up the Roadrunner and we did a bunch of video. We hung out some yesterday, hung out some this morning, and they headed back with the Roadrunner today. So, yep, that was me. Dalton hung out. We had a good time, did some cool stuff. So, I've got some content coming out. He's going to have some content coming out, and we're going to see where he goes with that Roadrunner. So, thanks for jumping on tonight, Donnie. Dispatch, reason being is self-installed belts could maybe be more dangerous than none. That's probably true, too. But anyway, and on the back cover, Mechanics Illustrated. Like I said, we talked about to begin with. Tom McCahill wrote tons of car reviews for Mechanics Illustrated back in the 60s. So the back cover is for Mechanics Illustrated. Tom McCahill, America's foremost automotive writer, appears regularly in America's top how-to magazine. He's famous for chuckles and hard sense and a racy mail column, and comes up with real gutsy reporting in his monthly car tests. Get the latest issue now. Mechanics Illustrated, still 25 cents at all newsstands. Donnie, sweet, earned my sub. Great. Appreciate it. Glad you jumped on. We do this every Sunday night, Donnie. If you liked hanging out with us, come back for more Sunday night shenanigans next week, and it will be episode number 109. Yeah, this is the 108th time we've done this. So glad you're here. Hope you like hanging out. Be sure to come back for Toy Tuesday live on Tuesday night, plus more cool videos on cars coming up this week. So there it is. Tom McCahill's Car Owner Guide from 1965 for the basic general consumer. So like I said, definitely a little off course from our typical car magazine. Brian sent this in. Happy to share it with you. I'm glad some of you guys did like it and got some good positive feedback on it. Oh, yeah, by the way, Donnie, every time the Hudson badge flashes, you better get ready to drink. Some of these guys have a little trouble getting to work on Monday, so just forewarning you. Thanks to Brian for sending this one in. Like I said, I told you it was going to be a little bit off course. I warned you. I had a few good comments on it. I hope overall a lot of you guys enjoyed it since it was a little bit different than what we typically do. But hey, mixing it up a little bit sometimes isn't all bad. So let's do some trivia. Let's talk about some new inventory. Let's talk about what's coming up. So lots of stuff happening yet as we kind of wrap up into the last section. That's right, big job, Harbor Freight prices. William says, wait, he looks like my daddy. Well, if Tom McHale was your daddy, that was probably what he would look like. So Sebastian liked it as well. Like I said, typically, we do car magazines that were written even back then for the enthusiasts, whether they were a hot rod magazine, a hop-up magazine, or whether they were a Motor Trend or Road Track testing new cars. A lot of that was geared toward car people. This was geared completely to your average Joe consumer. So that's what took us into a different place in time than what we're typically used to tonight. So glad you guys liked it, even though it was a little different. We'll work some other stuff in next week. Time for some trivia. If everybody's ready, Alec liked it too. So cool. I'm glad you guys dig it. I'm glad it worked out, and I'm glad that nobody said that sucks. Put it away. Get something else out. So after you drink, we get an auction. You guys can drink some more. Tonight, trivia. A couple of cool, these are just paper pieces, but they are standard oil company pieces, kind of like we just looked at the credit card and talking about the propaganda from back in the day, from the oil companies and things like that. We've got a little pamphlet here from the Standard Oil Company. This says 343 at the bottom. I don't know if that's a date on this or not, but this is just a little pamphlet. Read this carefully. Standard Power Fuel gives the breakdown on why you would want to buy standard gasoline. So literally, just like what we covered in the magazine. Standard Power Fuel has been produced for use in power equipment and must not be used as a substitute for perfection kerosene, standard heater oil, Stanalex furnace oil, or any type of burning oil. Specifically, it must never be used in lamps, stoves, incubators, brooders, or oil burners. Your supply of Standard Power Fuel has been placed into a red container with a warning sticker attached. You too must use the same precautions in handling this product as you do in handling gasoline. So this must be power fuel. It must be a little, I don't know if it is gasoline or a little bit hotter gasoline or what it is. But anyway, one of those, as well as another little standard piece, the 1969 Standard American Oil Motor Club wallet calendar. Little wallet size, has holidays on the back, but what's really cool on the back, Best Western, Avis Rent Cars, National Rent Cars, Albert Pick Motels, Quality Motels. So just a couple of little cool little standard oil company pieces tonight for trivia. So tonight's question, as always, we're going to put this on at 90 seconds. I'm sure somebody's going to get it, but we definitely put it on 90 seconds, as we always do, just in case. And here we go. On Toy Tuesday the other night, Brian sent us a Chevy football promotional pamphlet. Inside the pamphlet was a breakdown of the Chevrolet Performance models. There was an Impala in there. What color was the Impala? We are on 90 seconds for the Standard Oil paper products for tonight. Keeping an eye on both formats. Watching some answers pop up. Idea came from the 65 2+2 on the cover. Appreciate that, Brian. Big Job says he's drinking. Watching for the color of the Impala. 30 seconds has passed. So keeping an eye on that. No correct answers as of yet. Jason got it. It was blue. That is correct. Jason is our winner. It was blue. And there again, I kind of tried to pick the oddball ones, the Chevelle, the Camaro. Those are the ones anybody was going to remember. So that's why I picked kind of the oddball on that. So Jason is our winner tonight. For trivia. So, yep, Donnie, we do trivia, we do auctions, we do all kinds of stuff, and we drink to a Hudson badge. So, actually, a lot of reds coming in. So, I'm glad I didn't go with Camaro because if anybody's guessing, I think the Camaro was red. So, that's right. Brian says tricky, Chad. So, Big Job just guessed pink. I don't think Chevy did a lot of performance models in pink. But like I said, that's the part of trivia. We got to mix it up. We got to make it a little trickier sometimes for you to find it. So, but Jason's our winner tonight. So, anyway, what else is going on? Time to talk about the raffle. Who's in? Who's not in? We got 2 weeks left. We're going to give away this original Sinclair porcelain pump plate, a metal porcelain cool piece. We are also going to give away a pair of brand new 1956 Kansas license plates. Here is one of them, 10830. Here, still in its envelope, 10831. A pair of consecutive numbered new old stock 1956 Kansas license plates. Third name out of the big Buick oil can. We'll get a Phillips 66 Aviation. This is cardboard, but it is in great shape with great graphics. Still sealed. I will drain this once again unless the winner wants to pay extra shipping for a full can. I love aviation cans. They're just something you don't see as often. So big Buick oil can. Who's in it? There's a bunch of names in it. We got a great raffle going. I appreciate all your guys' participation. If you're not in, we have 2 weeks left. We're going to give this away on May 1st. And at that point, we will announce the next raffle for May. Lots of names in here. Sure you can see some of them there. Lots of our friends already in this thing. So who's in there? Make sure I didn't drop nothing. Don't want to drop anybody. As of right now, if you think you've paid me and I don't read your name off, be sure to get with me. If you want to get in, you still got time. You can mail it. 522 Morton. You can do PayPal, friends, and family. All that information is in the text part of this video. So you can always go back and click on this video after we're done and get that information out of the text part, or you can always call me if you've got a question. Who is in? Ray Carmichael. My dad is in. Steve Ehrlich, Mike Matty, Norma Bronner, Cement Surfer, Kenny Peterson, Peter Winters, Alec Blanchett is in. Eric Taylor is in. David Weber, Lee Carr, David Woodcocks, William Alderman, Big Job, Ron Walensky, John Bennett, Rusty Nails, Jess is in, Mike Barger is in, and Jason Withrow is in. So, anyway, if you think you have paid me and I did not read your name, be sure to get a hold of me to make sure we can get you in and make sure we don't get something crossed up. Big Job says he's in for $1 million. Sweet. I'm waiting on your check, buddy. So 18 names are in. So we've got a good group. We'll see if we get a few more. We may pull 4 names. Like I said, it's a raffle. I can't give a prize to everybody, but I do want to try to get a good enough amount of prizes that a good portion of people win something. So we may see if I'm definitely going to consider sliding another one in. If we get a couple more in, we'll definitely pull 4 names. But super appreciate everybody's participation and everybody getting involved in the raffle, having a lot of fun with it. Shopcat, quick note, YouTube has been unsubbing people like crazy. So if you wouldn't mind checking that you're still subbed to Chad or to Shopcat, be sure to check it if you've subbed before. So have not heard that, Shopcat. Thanks for showing that out there. So be sure to check and make sure you have subbed. If you think you have, Shopcat says you might double check because they've been monkeying with some of that stuff the way it sounds. So anyway, that's who's in there in the big, beautiful Buick oil can. If you're not in there, you want to be in there. Well, you got 2 weeks, and we're going to start drawing some names out of here. And we're going to give some super cool stuff away. Old School says, yeah, YouTube unsubbed many of his channels. So apparently that is a thing. So be sure to double check and make sure your subscriptions are correct on channels you have subbed to, especially mine and Shopcats. So be sure to check out a lot of us that you've been on here with hanging out. Make sure your subscriptions are still active with them. A few more things to go over, and then we're going to wrap this thing up, which I say wrap this thing up. It always takes 15 minutes to wrap it up. But I didn't haul a lot of cars this week. I did go get another load of parts from my buddy's place. Been sorting through some of that stuff. And like I said, bought more while I was there. I think I spent more. Yeah, I spent more this week than I did a couple weeks ago. So go figure. Of course, he had 2 signs that he was thinking about selling. And yeah, of course, if he's thinking about selling them, that means he doesn't really need to sell them, but he would probably sell them or maybe sell them. So, of course, then I had to pay up, but I paid up and I own them. So I brought one of them home with me. We'll probably squeeze it in on Toy Tuesday with a viewer box. And then the other one is big. I need to get it hauled in. Old School, how many whole vehicles do I sell per month? It varies. Not a ton. I sold 2 or 3 this month so far. Some months I don't sell any. It just varies. So, but I mean, how many you want to buy? I mean, I'll sell you all you want to buy. I mean, they're for sale. They're not pets. Buzz just actually threw a whole bunch of them up for me on Roadkill. So be sure to check out Roadkill. It was Buzz just threw a whole bunch of projects that that I've got for sale. So he's got a great list on there for me as well. So Buzz has been great to work with. Can't say thanks enough to him. Super happy that you guys are supporting him as well, because there's so much great information on that website. So Pete, never seen so many parts hanging from the rafters. Yeah. And more coming hanging in his rafters as well and buried in his corners. And some of this stuff you can't even see very well because it was buried so far back in some corners. So we were kind of operating off some light. In fact, up in the rafters of that one building, we had a door that was probably 3 by 3 square that we could open up, and that's all the light that's up there. So, but I shot the stuff as I found it, where he had it hanging, exactly how we're getting ready to drag it out. So we'll have another one of those videos coming up here sometime in the near future. And I got a lot of hauling to do. I got a good start on it, but I still got a ways to go. Let's see. Jason says everything's for sale for the right price. Old School, Steve Mags, Magnante, I assume, could do a junkyard crawl on your lot. His videos are great. Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to come out, that's cool. But like I said, did some hauling out of his place. I went and got one car. I went back to the Western Kansas run, clear out in the middle of the prairie, and I brought in the 36 Chrysler. So we will be having a video on it soon. And so that will be coming up. David W., the Autronic eye you talked about a couple times is new. What does it do? It actually it's a sensor that sees the headlights of an oncoming car as you're coming towards it on the highway and automatically dims your headlights for you. So it's an auto headlight dimmer is what it is actually. And there was a few comments of people that didn't understand that. And to me, I didn't even think about it. I mean, it's just so common to me. In fact, I've actually got a new old stock tester for it up over there on the shelf for the Electronic Eye. I ought to get that down and show you guys. I think I did it on a Toy Tuesday years ago, but if anybody's interested, we can bust that out and check it out real quick too. The big job, I'm on a roll buying. I have been on a roll buying. It's been craziness. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. We went and did 4 or 5 videos today, and that's only maybe half the cars that are sitting here that need videos done on them. There's at least that many more already on the ground that I haven't done videos on yet. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff. Let's see. Pete, there's a huge module on the dash. Looks like an alien. Well, the eye is on the dash. The actual controller is under the hood. There's a big box, a big metal box under the hood that is the actual controller. So the eye is on the dash, but the actual control box is under the hood on all of them. Buick had it, Cadillac. Actually, you get it on any GM. So old school, will fuel prices affect your business? It could. I don't know. I know it will on shipping vehicles. It definitely affects guys who want to ship whole vehicles. And it also is affecting shipping on parts. But a lot of these guys, if they need it, you got to have it. If it's a few extra bucks to ship it, that's what they got to do. So, but so the 36 Chrysler video is going to be coming up. What else? What other videos do I have ready for this week? Let's see. I did the video at my buddy's place. I don't know if we'll get that up. I did a short video on the loader while we took it out. So we got a loader video I'll throw up at some point. I may just kind of squeeze it in as an extra video. The 1960 Chevrolet Parkwood wagon, got that video up. And that thing is loaded also. Power steering, power brakes, factory air, and an Electronic Eye. So the 60 Parkwood wagon that's coming up, that one's got the Electronic Eye as well. David W. is the 57 Roadmaster is sweet. Yeah, anybody that watched the video, you know how much I like 57 Roadmasters. If you couldn't tell it from that video, then you must not have watched it, because I think you could probably tell from the video I'm fairly enthusiastic about 57 Roadmasters. 3.5 hours there, 1.5 hours inspecting cars and parts, 3.5 hours home. 1 week to offer him half. So those videos are going to be coming up. Rusty Nails had a 66 Fleetwood with the eye in it. Yep. So that's what I've got coming up. Excuse me. This week for content. Plus, obviously, the stuff with Dalton, Pole Barn Garage. I'll definitely try to get that one up this week on the Road Runner. And Dalton's got a lot more footage to go through. Obviously, while I was loading the car and things like that, I got a few clips that I'll stitch together. But he's got most of it because he was down on a lot more of it, you know, when we were loading the car and things like that. Oh, we made a few repairs to the car, too, with the fork. Yeah, so you'll definitely want to see that. We used the fork to make some repairs on it. Tweak the metal a little bit, so you'll definitely want to check that out. So let's see. Pete, 57 Roadmaster was cool. Never knew any cars had the year on the exterior. Actually, Buick did that in 56 as well. 56 Buick had it on the trunk and the grill, as well as the model. You know, there was a grill ornament that said 1956 Buick Century Special Super Roadmaster, whatever it was. Same thing on the trunk. So 56 Buick also had the year on it. Old school. Anyone know what happened to Barn Find Hunter episodes? Don't know a thing about that. Sebastian, that car has a big chrome smile. Yep. Okay. No problem. Number one, he was telling Shopcat a game plan. That kind of threw me off. So that's what kind of threw me off a little bit. Big job. Scrap prices are up. So are purchase prices. That's true. That does affect it. Rusty Nails, was the Roadrunner a 440 car? No, it was a factory 383 4-speed car is what it was originally. No motor or tranny in it, but it was originally a 383 4-speed car by VIN and trim tags. So anyway, number one says started in 54 in Canada on the badges. So big job is ready for the loader video. Yep. We rode it out there. Shayla followed me in her little yellow bug, so we were yellow and yellow going down the shoulder of the road at like 12. But we got it out there. That's all that matters. Anyway, that's what I've got for tonight. Pretty much worked through my worksheet. Did some cool badges. Did a super cool badge tonight. We're going to bust that out one more time as we wrap up. How long was the loader out of commission? 5 months. The frustrating part about it was the engine part was 3 months, and I expected it to be a few months on the engine. Last 2 months I've been fighting the starter. I had the starter overhauled because sometimes when I'd hit the key, it would just click and wouldn't go. Well, after they overhauled it, the starter drive wouldn't engage with the flywheel. It kept hitting the flywheel. We fought it, had it on and off, back to the shop 3-4 times. Never could get it right. I finally crossed the number off the case, found because the case number crossed to 6 or 8 different starters, went through all the possibilities, found the one that was 24 volt that matched up to a Fiat Alice loader, and just ordered a reman starter from Napa, bolted it on, boom, fired right up, it engages. I've had it out there, this weekend, started it 6, 8, 10 times, and it did it one time where the starter missed the flywheel. So the other times it may catch 1 out of every 6 or 8 times. And the other times it was just banging into the flywheel. So anyway, that was the frustrating part about it, is the starter had it held up. Just the starter had it held up almost as long as it took to pull the engine and put a bottom end in it. So yeah, that was the frustrating part. So, but anyway, it's out there, it's going. We'll throw that content up as well. But like I said, I'm getting ready to wind up, which always takes a few minutes. There's the awesome DeSoto badge for tonight. Glad you guys felt it was worth the hype. Alex says he definitely needs to find one for his collection. Like I said, first one I've ever seen. I don't know if they're out there. I don't know if they're available. Don't know. Don't care. Didn't matter. I saw this one at the swap meet. My daughter and I figured we needed to own it, so we do. Glad you guys liked the magazine, especially since it was a little bit different twist tonight on a consumer-oriented part of the car world. But that's what's cool about these magazines. Even this one, being consumer-oriented, not car enthusiast-oriented, we still got to take that look back in time at a time period and look at how they were looking at consumers, what consumers needed to know in that time frame in 1965 when they were looking at purchasing a car. Pete says he enjoyed it tonight and enjoyed the yard walk. If you missed the yard walk, be sure to go back. You can check some of that out as well from this afternoon. Norma says, great show as always. Good night, everybody. So anyway, that's what I've got. Another Hudson badge for the road. I'm going to keep an eye on questions for a few more minutes as we go. Shopcat says it was a fun one tonight. Great, thanks. And what else is coming up? Like I said, got the video with Pole Barn and the Roadrunner. Got the video of the 60 Parkwood. Got videos on parts. Got videos on new inventory. More cars we did videos on. I've got at least 6 or 8 videos ready to go. So lots of cool content coming up. And as well as Toy Tuesday coming up Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. I've got a viewer box to do, and I think we're going to work that sign in that I brought home with me the other day. So Glenn says thanks. Dispatch says good night, everybody. But as always, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you guys making this what it is. You know, if it wasn't for all of you, I'd be some dum-dum sitting here staring into a webcam babbling. So you guys are what makes this happen. There's a Hudson badge for you. We're going to give away this Sinclair sign in a couple weeks. We're going to auction off some more cool stuff next week. I hope you guys all make it back next Sunday night, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time for Sunday Night Live Chat. We have a ton of fun on here. Welcome to our new viewers. If you're still hanging out on here, hope to see you back again. We do a lot of fun stuff. Toy Tuesdays are always a good time. Like I said, the viewer box, going to be a crapshoot. Don't know what's in it. But I do know what the sign is, and I know the sign is epic. Like I said, I've been chasing this sign for a couple years. He's had it. He's kind of, I'd think about selling it. Then he would sell it. Then he wouldn't sell it. Then he decided to sell it. But when he decided to sell it, he still had a I don't want to sell it price on it, type of thing. So that's, but like I said, I got a deal worked out. More parts, more signs. Sebastian says, good night, sweet automotive dreams. Rusty Nail says, you're just a nobody. That's right. That's me. Pro Stock says, good job. Love the yard walk. That's right, Jason. Like we always say, same bat time, same bat channel. That's where we'll be next Sunday night as well as Tuesday night. Thanks for watching, everybody. There's another Hudson badge for the road. I'm going to jump off of here. I'm going to get a few more things done yet tonight and get back at it for tomorrow. Lots of stuff happening. Stay tuned. We're going to be showing you some of it. Hope you enjoyed the yard walk. Tell your friends to jump on, check out the yard walk, and invite them to come over and hang out with us next Sunday night for Sunday Night Live Chat. Big job. I had a starter do that. It was put together wrong on the Bendix, wrong by the washer, and wrong place on the stator drive. So I don't know if that's what happened or not, but I knew I'd had it. It cost me another $500 after I paid for having the starter rebuilt. So it was another $500 for the reman starter, but I put it on and it worked. So fine, it's fixed. I can use it finally. So Norman says, hit the like button. William says, great shows. Keep up the good work. So I appreciate it, everybody. Thanks for your support. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for making this what it is, because without you, it wouldn't be anything and I'd still be a nobody. But now we're all nobodies, so that's great. So anyway, hope to see you all Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, Toy Tuesday. More cool videos coming up. Definitely hope to see you back here next Sunday night, 7 o'clock, Sunday Night Live Chat. Bring your wallets. We're going to auction some cool stuff off. Having a great time. We'll see you soon. We're going to do another magazine next week. As always, Big Job says, great show and an awesome magazine. Cool. I'm going to be honest with you. I was a little worried about the magazine tonight. So when you shift gears that dramatically, it makes you think and makes you wonder, is everybody going to be into this? So I'm glad you guys liked it. That'll do it. Let's sign off. I'm going to get a few things done yet tonight. Definitely hope to see you back here next Sunday night, 7 o'clock Central Time, Sunday Night Live Chat. I hope everybody has a great week, and we will see you next week. Thanks for watching, everybody.